Yeah, you see this barbed wire on top of fence and this sign. And of course, no filming. I don't know if you heard me or heard him, but while I was filming that sign that it's forbidden to film, there was one man who came to me. He wasn't terribly aggressive, but really strong and imposing. He was explaining me 100 times that don't I see the sign? It's forbidden to film, forbidden to take picture, forbidden, 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 everything forbidden. Don't I see the sign? But yeah, I was just playing fool. Well, I was the fool in that regard, because I thought it was the Varosha already. But no, it turned out not to be Varosha, but to be some military thing. And I was kind of asking him, what is it? What's that behind that fence? And he didn't say anything military or what. He just said forbidden zone. He spoke some English, few words, but he definitely knew how to tell. Do not take pictures, photos, and filming, and forbidden zone. So that is the forbidden zone. Who knows what's in there? Some stadium probably. But that entrance, which we passed, can I try to film that thing, which he threatened me not to film? That entrance was quite intimidating, with armed soldiers with proper machine guns and angry dogs which were making crazy noise seeing that I'm passing near, and all the barbed wires, and like a war zone. Serious stuff. So I didn't even try to film that, especially since I still had that man walking besides me and repeating countlessly how forbidden is the thing which I was about to do. And actually this is a stadium, and that's not part of the forbidden stuff, I think. So that's forbidden stuff was behind that stadium. Yeah. You see those installations and that white big building? That's the military base. And what's that? Some old church? Probably in the ghost town? I don't know. But I think here is the entry. Yeah, it's even written entry, and in Turkish, and with smaller letters in Greek. So that's probably entry in Varosha. Well, how cool is that? We have arrived to that forbidden ghost town, which got opened a little bit less than a year ago, or exactly a year ago probably, I should say. And now we can get in there, but we can't touch buildings, and they'll be checking passports probably. At least I was warned that it will happen. So let's try our luck and see how it goes. I don't know about filming at the entry, but they said it's possible inside. Well, it's not only possible to get in, and they didn't even check my passport. He didn't speak much English, but he was just showing me to go in. And here, even they say it's a round trip 10 liras for those who don't want to walk. So it's not just possible to go in, it's even possible to have been driven around in comfort. And yeah, this is probably one of those signs, you see. It is fenced off by these ropes. And you see the building may collapse. It's dangerous to enter inside the building and approach it. Well, of course it's not because it's dangerous. Come on, people. But we understand, of course. And this looks like it is one of those buildings where Greek Cypriots were living until the mid-70s, when the bombing started. The Turk army came in and the whole place was fenced off. But interesting, I don't know why was it that this part was fenced off, but other parts were just taken and occupied by the Turkish Cypriots. You see, the island before the mid-70s invasion, it was very mixed. The Turkish Cypriots and Greek Cypriots lived together in all villages across all island. But when the big clashes started, the violent clashes, when the big guys decided they need to split these two against each other to make some artificial war and to secure the place against becoming too friendly with communists, because during that time Soviet Union was still alive. So at that time they decided to make two of these people to hate each other, and then the violent clashes started, and then basically with it's a long story and I don't know all the details of it, but as far as I know, when at the 1960, when Cyprus became independent from British Empire, that independence was granted with very strong conditions. And there were three official powers involved. British, who were by that time owners, kind of owners, that Cyprus was part of their empire by that time. Then there were Turkey involved. I just put on my rain jacket on my head. So there was Turkey involved, and there was Greece involved, and Greek Cypriots wanted enosis, or union with Greece, unification with Greece, and the Turk-speaking people, Turkish Cypriots, I think they wanted separation, like the island should be separated in two, like it is now. Or did they want to join with Turkey all of the island? I don't know. But in any case, when all these clashes happened, it became very violent. There was Archbishop Makarios, who was becoming president of Cyprus after the independence immediately. But he was kind of trying to hold all that boiling kettle together without taking too much sides, if I understand correctly. I might be wrong. But then he got thrown off the power because the pro-Enosis guys took over in a coup d'etat or something of that sort. And when that happened, Greece of course helped the thing, and in that moment Turkey decided not to stay aside as well. It's in English. Pool Corner House. So these names probably stay here since the 70s, when it was bombed. And you can buy a film here, is it? Yeah, in 70s there were films for the cameras. So, and yeah, these conditions, which I didn't tell, the condition for the independence of Cyprus was that Brits get to keep 2 good chunks of this island for their military base, which they were very interested in and which they still hold and seriously hold. And that in case something went not as planned, because plan was that the president would be Greek-speaking Cypriot and the vice president should be Turkish Cypriot. And in that way the power balance could be held between the Greek-speaking majority and Turkish-speaking minority. But yeah, as the Enosis guys moved ahead and got rid of Makarios, then Greeks got to help the place, quote unquote help. And then Turkish decided that they must help Turk Cypriots. And then they came in a heavy way with a huge military force in proper takeover. And they took over something like 40% of the country. And basically the result is that the whole island is split in 4 pieces. Actually 4, yes, not 2. 2 is obvious. South is Turkish, south is Greek Cypriot side, the Republic of Cyprus, the internationally recognized Cyprus. North is Turkish Cyprus, which isn't recognized by anybody besides Turkey. And then there are 2 more parts. The 2 big, huge British military bases. I think we could go that direction, because somewhere there was the Palm Beach Hotel or something popular. I don't know what it is, but we'll see. So the 2 big British military bases, 2 big chunks of this island belongs to them still. And this is cool. I like these posts. Try to send a letter from here, guys. But at least we can walk here now. A year ago it wasn't allowed to walk even. You see, these ropes are new because they put them on to keep people out, so you can walk on the streets, but you're not allowed to go inside. Because it is dangerous, it can collapse, of course. I like how these people like to write things that they know that when people will be reading, they will understand that it's not what is meant. But they know that we understand it, and they write knowing that. Anyway, so that's the 3rd chunk. The 3rd piece was these military bases of Great Britain. And the 4th part of this country, how it is split, is the big buffer zone, which in some places is very, very wide between the north and the south. So basically the island is split into 4 pieces today. But yeah, I was detouring of the detour with my talking. But my initial thought was, I wonder how is it that they took over many other Greek Cypriot buildings and properties, and Greek side still holds the documents of the ownership, the land register. They still have it, and they still maintain that those Greeks who left this place at mid-70s, that they still, Greek Cypriots I mean, they still own these properties. And if you buy them from Turkish Cypriot, you see Restaurant Pavlos, Greek name. Although it's not in Greek, it's in English. But yeah, it was for tourists. It was a pure tourist resort city. It was nothing about locals. It was all about tourists and celebrities from all countries in the world. And that was some white horse inn. Yeah, so I wonder why, when they took over all the Greek Cypriot properties and just used them, why did they fenced off this part and didn't use it? I'm definitely sure that there was no shortage of Turkish Cypriots who would like to have such buildings, like for free. This building or that building, or if you want, you can take this building for free, or probably, well, not for free, just in case if you're a relative of some military or whoever politician, then you can have it. But in any case, I'm sure that there was no shortage of people who wanted. But for some reason they fenced them off and they didn't allow any people in. And now, since last year, they allow people to walk on the streets through and see them. But yeah, it's still a mystery for me, and I don't know how it happened, why they weren't inhabited and taken over. But in any case, I was talking much, but you can try to see and imagine these things. How was it when people were forced to leave their businesses, their houses? Everything was left as it stood. Literally, kettle on the stove, books in the shelf, everything. Because when they flee away, they thought they'll be back after a couple of days. And they never knew that even till this day, they were never allowed in their houses. Let's say if you built that house, which you see now, with your own hands, you now live somewhere in the south, because you're Greek Cypriot, and you were never allowed to visit that place. You technically are owner of the place, but you can never visit it. You could never see it even. You would never allow close to it. And now, since last year, you can walk these streets. And I think Greek Cypriots can walk too, not only us. Imagine if you build your house during 60s, beginning of 70s, and then you come today and look how it looks now. And you remember how prosperous and bustling and successful was this tourist city. And you built that cafe, or you built that shop or hotel, whatever it was. And then there was, you see this hotel or whatever was only began to be built. And even with all the crane, everything standing, just left as it is, as it was in the 70s. Crazy. And imagine if that's your house, you can never be in there again for 45 years or so. And your kettle is still on the stove inside there somewhere. And your books are there, and your love letters to your wife are there in the shelf somewhere. Crazy. Crazy. It's amazing what people can do to each other. And yeah, not so much even people. All the big politics and governments which organize those things. Officially, there were only Greece, Turkey and Great Britain involved in this conflict. But under the water, there were also bigger guys like United States, partly even Soviet Union, because Cyprus kind of became a little bit friendly with Soviet Union. That Makarios made some visits in Moscow and so, and United States got very cautious about it. You see all the bullet holes. Oh. I just noticed. You see, guys? Wow. and that's from 70s. This is how it still stands. Crazy. And yeah, US got a little bit cautious about it because they didn't want Cyprus suddenly to become Soviet Union influence sphere and part of Warsaw Pact countries or something. And then US decided that it's a good idea to let Turks to come in and annex part of this island because Turkey was already part of NATO. So that would be kind of a hedge against Soviet influence in this country. And that seemed to be a good idea. And they allowed it to happen and didn't say anything, although they knew it. Anyway, these are all just talks about it, and who knows how true it is. I have heard about them, I have a little bit read about them, but who knows what it was in reality. Of course, there were bigger money, bigger interests involved, bigger politics, who moved all those wires. And as a result, this is what you get. I was moving there, and I didn't even thought moving behind that sign. But there is no line, but probably the line should be here. And I was moving towards that sign, and as soon as I stepped off, suddenly the man from there said, "Hey!" and immediately showed me to come back, to go back, don't go in there. Okay, they're watching us. They're not letting us move freely around, even where there are no ropes. That is the old toilet building for the beach people. It's at the beginning of 70s, and that's the new one for the new customers of Varosha. Interesting. And that's probably also new, this road. It's a policeman. But he looked friendly. Yeah, and that is how the beach resort looked. We were shouting again to somebody, but probably it wasn't me. So that's how the resort looked from the seaside. Imagine how amazing this place was during 70s, 60s, when it was extremely popular. People were coming from all over the world to Cyprus, and this Famagusta beach was the best of the best as far as I hear. You see, there is written no photo, but this is the thing which we can ignore now, because they allowed photo since the last year. But as far as I understand, the beach itself was always open, even before. You could walk on the beach, but you see this fence was the border where you couldn't walk anymore, and you couldn't even photograph these buildings which are inside of the zone. But yeah, now we are allowed inside of the zone, inside of Varosha, the ghost town. And you see that Merhaba. It's amazingly beautiful. I don't know if it's allowed to walk there. Maybe let's go the civilized path while the policemen are looking at us. I need to take some picture there as well. Yeah, you can see these buildings and that old fence which fenced the beach off from the forbidden zone, and looks like there's some fence here, so probably this part where I'm standing was fenced off as well, so you wasn't allowed to walk here probably even. That's crazy. See all these places. It finally dawned to me why they are making such signs, which are obviously so much out of the context. Because there are loads of people who come into these streets, all the tourists like me, who are taking pictures of these places, taking selfies like these guys, taking pictures of each other's, taking pictures of these sites. And these pictures are flooding the internet. And they wouldn't do any good to Turkish reputation if they would write something which is closer to the reality, why they're here, these signs. But this kind of sign is very innocent, absolutely innocent. Look, I take such a picture, old building, and dangerous to enter inside because building may collapse. Oh, obvious, normal, what's special there? Nothing special, guys, nothing. And you see, that's the old sign, Lion House Famagusta. That was from the beginning of 70s when it was still a resort city of the Greeks. You can see what things this building was housing. Exchange store and all kinds of stuff, library and whatnot. And this was only started to be built and never to be finished. This town, of course, was full of hotels, and this one is Hotel Margarita. Yeah, imagine how it was in the early 70s. When this place was bustling and hustling, full of tourists. Everybody was living happily, successfully, their businesses were booming. And they didn't have a clue that the bigger guys are already making some arrangements which will result in Turkish army coming in and taking it all. Toyota Motor. This is how they looked in 70s. A bit different, but still the same company. Europa Furs and Europa Pelze. Is it German? Sounds like German. I don't know how is it for in German, probably that. So probably English and German speaking people were the biggest vacationers in this place. By that time it definitely wasn't Russian. The Soviet people didn't have that option in 70s to come and vacation here, because all the Soviet people were in their big happy prison called Soviet Union. By that time you couldn't simply get out of it unless you risked your life and flee away from through some forests like some people did, whom I know. No photos, UN. Should that be taken seriously? What do you think? Varosha, UN. Okay, that's some UN base. Yeah, amazing place. Edelweiss Cafe. Yeah, some Austrians maybe were gathering here and drinking an Austrian beer in Cyprus during late November vacation, when there was already first snows in Alps, and here it was nice and sunny. Actually, the sun broke out a few moments ago. Isn't that cool? And what do you think about going to some curiosity shop? Would that be curious enough to see what can you buy inside? All kind of souvenirs, all kind of beach stuff maybe, who knows. And that's Hoover. Well, is it the President Hoover or the Hoover? How do you call Hoover in English? The thing which you use for cleaning your carpets. Yeah, this probably was burning. Some bomb got into it maybe. And is it a kitchen counter with some olive oil or some vodka on the counter? You can't see probably in the darkness. No, I can't get it to zoom for the... Yeah, crazy stuff. Imagine if it's your kitchen. I know it was a bar, it wasn't exactly somebody's kitchen. You see, it was a bar. So yeah, it was a counter, and I see two bottles on that countertop. Some vodka-like bottle and some, I don't know, rum or whatever it could be. Crazy stuff. And everything like it was left in the 70s when the bombers came in and the military started their advances and took over the place. It was left like that. And that vodka bottle still stands on that counter in that bar. Nobody took it. This is one crazy, crazy place. I can't even imagine how it feels if one of these buildings were your business, where you build it, you took out the mortgage, you build it, you put half of your life in the place, in this prosperous city of Famagusta, with so much future promise of tourists and prosperity and success, and you build it all, and you're not, and then you flee away for a couple of days because army comes in with bombing everything, and then you flee away for a couple of days, never to see again your business or your house. All your business accountancy documents probably are still in some office somewhere inside of that building. And you never were allowed to see your annual return. Was it net positive or negative? How big profit was for you in the year 1974? Yeah. Magusa.org. This is probably something new for tourists, for today's tourists, those tourists like me who are coming to look the ghost town. And could this be some local government building maybe? Since now there are today's flags, not the old Cyprus flag. Don't know. But I'm so grateful that it doesn't rain anymore. I could take off my terrible raincoat and enjoy even some slight sunshine in one moment in for a couple minutes. Aha, you see, there is, I think, first time when I see something in Greek. Everything was in English because it was geared for the tourists of the 70s. But here, Epailis Comitis Ltd. Limited, obviously. Linguaphone for languages. Some language learning something. Crazy stuff, guys. Crazy stuff. It looks like nobody has walked over that street for quite some time. And this cafe or whatever it was is called Boccaccio, so probably some Italian cafe or pizzeria. And that's Christie's studio. Maybe that was some British investor or British business person who opened the studio in that time's booming tourist city Famagusta. And see this street. Nobody has walked on it for a long time. And all these silly signs. Come on, people. Didn't you have enough? Probably you didn't. Enough character or strength or honesty to write the real reason. But I can understand. If I did such a thing, it probably would be difficult for me to admit it as well, that I have done it. It would be a lot easier to say, oh no, this building just is not safe. You see these people there who are walking away. I was chatting with them, and the old lady, I think it's her children, but not sure, but the old lady told, she is Greek Cypriot, and it's her first time she are getting in here since 47 years, since the 1974. And her husband was working in this hotel, this very building, this hotel, Esperia Tower Hotel. And she knows every room in this place. And she wanted to go in and see, and the police car just drove away, but the police said no, you're not allowed. And it was crazy to listen from them, how they were telling how this place was full of life, full of tourists, successful, prosperous, people were happy, and weather is good, and the place is the most beautiful place in the whole island, and beaches are most beautiful, and tourists were coming and everybody was happy. Well, at least in their memories. You know how these things happen with our memories. But I can imagine, I can believe. Intra tours Esperia. And yeah, she told that her husband was working in this hotel, this very building, and it is first time in their life after 47 years when she was able to come here and see. and it was crazy how difficult, I can imagine, and I understood from them how difficult it was for her to look at this. It was so beautiful and so prosperous, and now it was so full of life, and now, and on top of that, they're not even allowed to see their old workplace, an old home. It's a terrible, terrible pain. And you know, friends, what is even worse, in my eyes at least? Philips. It was a Philips shop or whatever. You could buy Philips batteries maybe there at those times. So it was 74, now I know, not 76. 1974. And you know, friends, what is even worse? This was some tour agency probably, Jet. What's even worse? After all that pain. Yeah, and they said that I was asking if they ever hope to get back their properties, to be able to live here again. They said never, impossible. Turkish will never allow it. That's at least what they think. I don't know. And I was asking, but you still have the ownership documents of all your properties. You still have the land registry acts, and yes, they have these things in Nicosia office, in Lefkosia office, on the Greek side, Greek-speaking side. All registers are there. Which house belongs to whom, and where the borders between the lands go, and everything is there. Crazy places. But it doesn't count, because army came in, and by the way, I was asking, basically army came in and nothing counts. Nothing what was before Turkish started to rule here, nothing counts. And I was asking, why did they fence off this place? And they said that official explanation is that Bank of Cyprus, that's how it looked in the 1974. And the Kodak, you could probably buy some cameras and films for the cameras in the 1974. Cleopatra Bazaar, some travel agency, and yeah, what I was telling. I'm a bit overwhelmed from that chat with these people who owns these places. Because it was quite emotional moment for them, because it was first time in their life after 47 years when they have been coming here. They weren't allowed before. As I said, it is only last year's end, 1 year ago, when they opened these streets only to these ropes, not further. And you can walk in now, even if you're a Greek Cypriot. Persona non grata. Yeah. Yeah, I was asking why they were fencing off, and they said the official Barclays Bank, it was there then as well. Okay. I was asking if what was the reason why they fenced it off, and they said they just took it, and the official reason was that it's a military base. That's why it's fenced off. not like other Northern Cyprus parts. But they said that it's not true, it's just Toyota. I have seen these pictures somewhere on the internet. UN checkpoint and Toyota and Barclays Bank. That's a crazy, crazy ghost town, and that's the traffic light how it looked in the 74. Oh, this looks even crazier, ghost-likely. I can't go. Only there? Okay, sorry. Well, that's why it looks so crazy, that you're not allowed to go in there. That's the traffic lights of 1974. Yeah, but they said it's only official reason that it's military base because there was no military, you see, all this place wasn't used for military purposes, it was some other reasons. Who knows what reasons. Because this part was very prosperous, very, very full of money and very, very appealing to some people who wanted some big riches, and probably somebody had some good hopes or plans or something to divide among their friends or whatever, which never happened, maybe for some other reasons or something, and they were keeping it because of that for somebody, and that never happened or whatever, but nobody knows. Well, again, this is what I hear, but is it true or not? Of course nobody knows. You see how it looks if you have a fancy half-round wood cladding around your house and you don't paint and varnish it for 47 years. This is how it looks after that. Wow, look at that street. Look at that street. Crazy. Andreas Dimitriou. Andrea Dimitriou. That's how it should be. Agfa, another film shop and photo shop. Yeah, in those times, what did tourists need? A lot of films for their cameras to make many photos and remember their vacation. Yeah. And yeah, I started to say, do you know what is the most sad thing of all of that, in my eyes? It was very sad to hear those ladies' story about how they were living here and how this place was full of life and beautiful and prosperous and amazing, and they were living and working here. Was that some church? That should be east side, so that could be altar and that would be a tower. Let's look, but probably no. Just a small resemblance of it. What was the most sad thing of all that? It was sad to listen and hear all of that story and to see how miserable this place looks now, and that they're not allowed to be in, and that they have no hope that they will ever get something back out of it. Even they went to European court, and European court made Turkish to pay the owners some compensation because they are not allowed to live here and work. But Turkish doesn't pay. They just ignore it. Who cares? Let them make whatever orders they make. And probably they have their own righteousness, how they see the things, and with their eyes it probably looks righteous and proper action not to pay. And that European court was probably stupid that they ordered such senseless court order to pay for something which is ours now, meaning Turkish. I can guess, but I don't know. But yeah, I'm not getting to the end of my thought. The most sad part of that all, that after all these things and everything that they're told about all these terrible stuff, do you know what their conclusion was? She looked around because Turkish police was near. She looked how close is that police. And as it was quite close, not very close, but quite close, she was kind of coming a little bit closer to me, like bowing a little bit, and my sausage bag got undone. I will need to take care of that before everything has fallen out. That's crazy. Okay, I'll finish my sentence and I'll take care of it. She came closer to me and she said, you know what is my conclusion of all that? And she looked again around, if the Turkish police doesn't hear, and she said, Turkish is the worst people of all people. Nobody in the whole world is so bad as Turkish. That's what I think is the most sad of all things. Like, we all know what governments can do to their people and other people. We know what people with power and money tend to do to those who have less power. We all do these things. We just all don't have the ability to do as much damage as governments have ability to do. It's not about nations, it's not about Turkish, it's not about Greek, it's not about any nation. It's just about pure human being, human psychology, human possibility to do evil things to other people when you have power to do it. And after all that happened, all that pain which they went through and still carry in their hearts, I think that's the most sad thing which I could hear, that their conclusion is hatred to Turkish people. It's not about people. Of course, it's easy to say for me, who haven't suffered all these things. Maybe if I had suffered all these things I would talk different, and probably I would, but I wouldn't be right because of that. It's not about peoples, they're people. It's not Turkish or Greek or whoever. But this is what happens with us people when we suffer so much. And if that suffering came through a certain person or certain people, we tend to think or to bind that suffering and evil together with that person or people, and to think that that people or person is the evil or cause of all the evil. But no, it's not about that. Is this the end, or is it possible to go there, or it's the finish? Ah, finish, okay, nothing there, okay. And when we start to think like this, that that's some church, that definitely was a church. You see the tower, and no roof, of course. So when we, you can see the advertisement of 7-Up and Coca-Cola in 1974, how it looked. This is how it looked. That's crazy. Imagine. Wow. So, yeah, when we start to think like this, that all cause of the evil is that other person or that other country or that other people, then we start to cause that to happen even more. Because we start to hate that other person or people, and those kind of attitude, this kind of frequency or vibrations or thoughts or whatever you call it, that's something which you grow inside of you. It starts to counter-react and cause them to hate you more, and you hate him more, and that causes him to hate you more, and it can go without end until that hate completely blows out somewhere, and the result is something like this. Not nice, people, not nice. Don't hate other people. Don't hate other nations. Don't hate your neighbor. Don't hate yourself. You can get this kind of result in your soul, or even in your house or in your business. Not a good idea. Forgive and move on. Of course, in this situation, it might be a bit foolish for me to, it sounds a bit foolish that I haven't suffered that and I just say, oh, forgive, easy to say. You see, Marlboro, that's how it looked then. People were getting their fags out of this corner shop probably. And yeah, it is easy to say, I know. And it doesn't count for anything if I just say it. The important thing is to do it. But I also have done it, and in quite serious things. Probably it is difficult to compare my things to these things, because they're very different. But nevertheless, that's the best understanding or attitude I can share about these things, and I have seen it working. When you forgive, when you let it go, when you let your debtor go and release that debt, you get freedom. As who said it? That unforgiveness is that rope by whom the other is able to pull you. Let it go. You don't need it. Or some other said, I forgot whom he was, he said, to not forgive, to unforgive, is like drinking the poison and hope that the other person will die. That's how it works. Don't hate other people. Please, if I can suggest anything to you. So we are already at the very exit of Varosha. They cater for tourists as well. You can rent a bicycle, you can eat, you can get a bus drive. And let's see what these policemen say. Teşekkürler. They didn't say anything about me filming them. Nice. Now, friends, we have seen what we wanted to see, but now the big question is, will I get on time to that bus? Maybe I will, maybe I won't. It's kind of the last minute. If not, I will have to go with the next one and with the late one to Paphos. It won't be end of the world, but it will just be late and I won't have a lot of time to work in the airport. Nice Beetle! Hitler's car. In all seriousness, that was Hitler's idea. What he made Ferdinand Porsche to build for the German folk. That's why it's Volkswagen. Carriage for the nation. Military police. So yeah, Hitler made Ferdinand Porsche to design such a thing, and it was quite a success. But after that, Ferdinand Porsche decided to make cooler cars, and since those days we know car named, you guessed, Porsche. That's the same guy by name Ferdinand. Okay, friends, I wonder I had crazy idea. This is this military base, this crazy place which was forbidden to film and take pictures of. And you know, I'm filming now. Shall I try to film in some stealth mode? It will be difficult. I'll change hands and I'll try. Maybe it works, you'll get some picture of it. Now I'm holding my phone with a hand on my side and I'm not looking at that direction at all, and I'll try to walk by, but I won't be talking. It looks like I got away with it. Nobody got suspicious about what I'm doing. And that is on the other side, which I hopefully am allowed to film. But you can't be sure of anything probably. And that's the fence which I'm not allowed to film. It is so beautiful. And you see these signs, forbidden, forbidden. But so beautiful, how can that be forbidden? And these are the city walls, by the way. Sorry about the shaky picture, but I'm walking very quickly and I don't want to stop. But I hope you can see something at least. Now, friends, this is my bus station. Levkosha is correct, but probably that is for later, for the next hour, because it's completely empty. Pardon? Nobody in. And if it would be just a little bit late bus for what I wanted, it would be full and ready to go probably. So probably I have missed that one, which is good and bad at the same time. Good because I'll get to eat something and find a place which I can call a toilet. And bad because I won't get to that bus from Nicosia to Paphos. So I'll see. Maybe I'll take the last bus, or maybe I'll go not directly to Paphos, but I'll go to some other city, maybe Limassol or Larnaca, and from there I can catch Paphos. And at the end, although I use two buses I will still be at the end sooner than with the last bus, which leaves only at 7 p.m. from Nicosia. Well, friends, I have gotten full belly of a lot of nice stuff, and it cost me something like €1.50, and I'm back at our bus stop. There is Magusa, Levkosha, and here Levkosha. Thank you. How much does it cost?
24 Turkish liras.
24. Perfect. I just go in, yeah? Thank you. Teşekkürler. It's nice in these places, sometimes they speak English, so it's easy. And by the way, how do you like the name of the bus? Asbestos. I don't think it has anything to do with asbestos, but I know that in Greek, if I remember correctly, asbestos means non-flammable or fireproof or something of that sort, but this is definitely not the Greek side. I wonder what could it mean in Turkish. Maybe something else good. As this was my last city in Northern Cyprus, and in Cyprus in general, I will be going through Nicosia, maybe Limassol, and definitely Paphos, but I won't be really looking around. I have seen most of what I wanted to see already. I won't be making different videos about those places, I think. So probably this might be a good moment to try to summarize somehow. What do I think about this island, about Northern Cyprus, about Republic of Cyprus southern part? In general, I would say I definitely enjoyed the place. I really liked it. It was really pleasant to be here. Nice in all respects, both south and north. Which one I liked better? That's a difficult question. South was kind of a little bit more Europe-ish, more used to situation, less unusual, more civilized, and probably most people would say they would like it better, probably. But to be honest, I find that most interesting things I found in North. But it's probably just because it's unusual for me. It's something that real unusualness, that feeling of realness of the things and unusualness together. I think it makes the Northern Cyprus very attractive. Like, if you have been in Europe a lot and you have seen it all, Northern Cyprus is definitely more interesting to visit than the south, because it's unusual. European Leadership University. That's funny. And we are still in Famagusta, or Magusa. So in that regard, I think North is a bit more interesting. But all in all, I would say both sides are nice and beautiful and lovely. And people are nice on both sides. I like them both. One other thing is the bit sad part. about the division, partition, violence, war, buffer zone, all that kind of stuff. That was again very unusual and interesting to see that UN buffer zone, the peacekeeping forces, and all the stories and all the situations with the ghost town Varosha and everything. It was definitely interesting and unusual for me, I can't deny, but at the same time it is not very positive. It is unusual, but it's not very positive, so it's a mixed feeling. I'm definitely happy that I came here and saw it all, but on the same at the same time, it is sad to see how people can damage each other's lives and hurt each other and hurt the land too. And yeah, as always, no people is good or bad. There are always good people in each people. But the things which government, big politics, and all the big players do and can do to each other and other smaller countries, these things are, how do you say it? It's crazy. It's sad. It's a pity to see it happening. And such small island nations like Cyprus, they're just victims of that whole thing. They were played with. Like when you play chess, you use your chess figures to move them on the board. And this island was just one of those figures, and not even the biggest one. And somebody was playing them. Americans against Soviet Union, NATO against Soviet Eastern Warsaw Pact bloc, British with their military base interests, Greeks with their interests, Turks with their interests, and they were all playing chess. And this small island nation of Cyprus were the victims of it, were played with. As a result, Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots, who were living together, as far as I hear from people, quite friendly before, now they are, with all the propaganda and wars and violence and all the escalation, they are made to hate each other. They need UN peacekeeping force buffer zone between them, and they can't live together in all villages mixed. They need separation from each other and a buffer zone in between them. Not very nice, not very pleasant. But I'm definitely the last person who would be a person to judge it. I don't know it. I don't know how it feels to be one of them. I just observe from side how sad it is when these things happen. They're two nice, great people, lovely people, on both sides. But unfortunately, so much misery and pain because of that chess playing, which culminated in 1974. So yeah, the biggest lesson which I again learned here: forgive, and one more time forgive. Let it go. Don't let it burn inside. It will burn you instead of the other person whom you think is your enemy. Forgive and let the debtor go. you'll be free. So these are my kind of thoughts, last thoughts about this country while slowly traveling away. Lovely country. Come here, visit this country, if you have a possibility. I don't think you'll regret. It's an interesting place. See my other videos about all the other places where I was, and make your own conclusions. See some other people's videos, read something. You might get interested in coming yourself. I definitely think it's worth it. All the best, my friends. All the best.